Good morning and welcome to Animal Talk Thursdays. We're giggling here because we've had some technical difficulties coming live, but I think we're finally got it. Coming to you from one of our cat rooms again, a different cat room, and we have Varuni here because we want to. If the other two cats in the room come over, we'll introduce them too. But this is Varuni, and he's been very happy to have us in here. So welcome everybody, and if you have a minute to make a comment in the comment section where you're joining us from, that'd be great. We know we have people joining us because we've been hearing from people from all over the country and actually all over the world because we have people joining us from other countries as well. So we welcome everybody. And we're going to have a special presentation today, actually. So Becca, I'll let you say something.
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of really good questions that we're excited to get to and that we were planning on getting to today, but we're actually going to hold off on some of those questions until next week because we wanted to do something a little bit different today. Dawn came in today and said that she had some messages come in specifically related to the hurricane. And I had also been thinking about this, and another person actually had asked about the hurricane and how animals respond to it. And I think all of us here who are animal lovers, when we're watching this stuff happen on the news, we're kind of all wondering the same thing. So if you asked a question last week, we're probably going to get to it next week. So tune into that. But I'm going to let Dawn take it away with what she has on her mind.
Great. Yeah, I have a lot in my mind. So first of all, I just want to say to everybody out there, we have a lot of supporters that are in Florida and North Carolina. And I know that a lot of people that that I'm sure have access to Spring Farm Cares have been vastly impacted between Hurricane Helene and Milton. So we just want to say our thoughts are with everybody and hoping that everybody's safe and getting the help that they need. But that being said, thank you, Jennifer, for voicing a whole bunch of questions in your post that you did, and they were questions that I was actually already getting that we needed to talk about today. So a lot of people are asking me and have asked me many times how animals deal with these events, like these mass events. Clearly, and how we can help them, because clearly there are tens of thousands of people and animals impacted, many thousands that have lost their lives and others that are stranded. And people always ask me, what can we do for the animals? We're not there to physically help. What can we do? And there's a lot you can do. So tied up with this question is, do the animals understand, do other animals pick up on what's going on? And do they know beforehand that there's a disaster coming? And so all of these things I want to touch on. It's a lot to cover in a short period of time, so I'm only going to be touching briefly on these. But my experience has been definitely that animals pick up on this. On a planetary level, our animals pick up on a lot of events that are going on that we don't realize. I've often had experiences just here at the farm with going out into the barn, for example, and finding the horses being agitated and asking them, what's going on. And they'll be concerned about something that's going on in the Mideast, or, we have wars going on, we have whatever. And when I first started getting these messages, like 35 years ago, I would think, like, how do they know that? I mean, we don't have radio. We do have radio on in the barn, but not with the news. And how do they know that? And so I would start asking the animals, how do you know about this? And they would tell me that they're all connected. This planet is all connected. We humans are the ones that get disconnected from that natural kind of picking up what's going on through the planet as a whole. And we think we're more advanced because we have telecommunications and, especially today, satellite communications. And I mean, something happens on the other side of the globe and you know about it within 3 minutes, on 24/7 news. So we live in this communication immediacy almost, except we don't really communicate all that well. And what we hear is news, but we don't hear good things often. We hear the bad things, but we don't often hear the good things. And we also don't hear about this or receive this information in a way that we're connected to one another. So we're hearing about something going on, but it's not in terms of being connected to those people or animals that are experiencing this. And the animals, on the other hand, will know about things, but they feel the connection to it. So because we are all one, we are all part of this matrix on this planet, and we're all energetically tied into one another. So it doesn't matter where you are, there's an energy field that goes around the globe, and we are all each feeding into that. So while that seems a little broad, this will, to many people, sound like I'm oversimplifying this, but truly, I've learned this over the last 35 years, over and over again. There's a lot you can do just within yourself. So connecting to your own heart and just being quiet, feeling your own heart, and sending peace out and compassion and love out to the animals and people that are impacted by this storm, saying prayers, all of that works. They do get it, and they do feel that support. And a lot of times that's exactly what they need, is to just know that they're not alone, that there's support, and they will feed off of that. So our animals tell us that all the time here, that's a thing. Animals feel things very deeply. And Becca, if a question pops up in your head, just, ask it, or if somebody asks a question, a specific question, because I have lots of examples that I can give. But I'll tell you a story about a situation that happened here many years ago now. We're talking about over 20 years ago. I had horses that I was getting out into a pasture here at the farm. And these are horses that loved to be out in this pasture. They hated coming in, actually. And all of a sudden one day they came in at the gate, and they wanted to be in the barn, and they wouldn't go back out. And so, I was watching this and thinking, there's something bothering them. It was in the fall. There's something bothering them somewhere in the pasture or whatever. So I actually went up and looked around. I didn't see anything. So I came back down, and I said to one of the mares who was really kind of in charge of that group of three, and I said, "What is the problem?" And she asked me, what would happen if we got out of the fence on the road? And so I said, "What do you mean, what would happen? I mean, we have good fences along the road, but if anything happened, don't go out on the road. Please don't go out on the road." But she said, "But what would happen if we did?" And she was really like on high alert. And I thought, okay, there's a fence down somewhere that I didn't see. So I went and walked the entire pasture along the roadside and along the top, and there was nothing. The fence was totally solid. Everything was fine. So I came back down, and I said, I don't understand what the problem is. Bruni just gave me a little bite. I don't understand what the problem is. And so these horses kept staying in the barn, and they wouldn't leave. And finally I tried to walk them out, and they wouldn't come. And one of the other mares then said to me, "But what if something happened? What if something happened?" And I have no idea. I had no idea. I worked out there with them all morning, and cleaning stalls and just being in the barn, and I didn't see anything, any problem. It was about 3 hours later, a guest came to the farm and said to me, "Jace, did you hear about the really bad accident that just happened this morning?" So it was a farm about 3 miles or less than that, a couple miles away, and a horse had jumped the fence and gotten hit by a car, and the horse was killed, and the driver was almost killed as well. So it was a very bad situation. Now, I hadn't heard that, and it wasn't that we heard there weren't emergency vehicles or anything passing by our farm. However, it was like when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, somehow these horses were feeling that. They were picking that up. So I went out, Baruni, that's not very nice. I went out to the horses, and I said, there was a really bad accident. I'm really sorry. And they were like, "But what would happen if that happens?" And I said, "So don't jump the fences." This horse jumped the fence. So don't jump the fences. And within 5 minutes, they all went back out to the pasture once I had acknowledged that. So there are a lot of things the animals pick up, excuse me, that the animals pick up in ways that we don't understand. But they definitely pick up things in a broader area. So I don't know if you have any questions.
I have so many questions. That's an amazing story. I'm giggling too because Veroni,
Yeah, now Veroni's on her.
he's very spunky right now, and he's rubbing his face on my camera, which is why it's moving. The joy of being live with animals
Yes.
is always interesting. I think one of my questions is there a difference between when it comes to wild animals versus domesticated animals in emergency situations like this? Because, when you think about the hurricane, I'm picturing like the squirrels and the rabbits and the
Yeah.
birds, but then I'm also picturing like, what if someone's domesticated cat got out or their dog
Right.
got out or someone got left behind? Like, do they handle things differently? What is that like?
So the only difference, like you see these stories all the time, like when they're in the big tsunami, that the animals moved out of that area prior to, there was lots of stories of wildlife moving. And the animals definitely sense things. They sense earthquakes. They sense, they certainly know bad weather is coming. So a lot of times their instincts will definitely take them to a safer area. Wildlife can actually move in many cases. Some cases they can't, wildfires and things like that, if they can get away a certain extent. But birds, for example, can fly out of a situation, whereas other mammals that can't, get trapped. But they do understand a sense of emergency or urgency to move if they can. Our domestic animals have more trouble with that because they're locked in. They're locked into to fences or in houses or whatever, so they can't necessarily move like that. And not all animals pick up the emergency either. Not all of them get the message. So it varies. I don't want to make this sound like every animal, is tuned in, but most animals are tuned in to what's going on a much larger scale than you realize.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen a few interesting videos from Milton or like the few days leading up to Milton where groups of those big birds that almost are like crane like. I think they're called ospreys.
Yeah, the ospreys.
I've seen several videos of them in groups like walking down people's streets squawking, and it almost seems like they were trying to tell people, hey, there's something
Yeah.
going on. Do you think animals, do they do that? Do they try to warn us when they're picking up on something?
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens here all the time. So there's certain storms that come through here, for example, that I can tell by our horses. They may not be predicted to be strong or severe here, but I can tell by the way the animals are that something is going on that we don't know about. And so, yes, they do get a sense sometimes of that. We have cats going. It's Veroni. He's just going nuts in here.
He's really excited. Do you think that animals are ever concerned for us? Because, there's some people who were in evacuation zones that physically weren't able to
Sure.
evacuate. Do you think the animals feel a sense of worry for us?
They do, just like we feel the sense of worry for them. But yes, absolutely. There are so many stories of animals leading people out of situations too. So there's one big story I wanted to share today, and this actually was something that happened to me during 9/11. So during 9/11, my partner Margaret and I were actually on vacation. That's how long ago it was since I took a vacation, but that was the last one. So we were on vacation, and we went on a very special trip. We went to Vancouver, where we boarded a ship. When I say it's not a cruise, like a big cruise ship, it was a small ship, 50 passengers, nature watching kind of event with scientists on board and biologists and marine biologists, whatever. And it was partly watching orcas, but it was also stopping at islands with the Inuit tribes and things like that, and also hiking in different areas. So very nature oriented. So we got on the ship on September 10th, and the morning of the 11th woke to the news of what was happening here in this country. It was a very difficult cruise to be on because all you wanted to do was go home. We actually couldn't even see anything going on. So we didn't see any of the pictures from 9/11 for several days because the borders were all instantly closed, and we were, in Canadian waters. We were off the coast of Vancouver, like I said, and it was going to end in Seattle, but they wouldn't let us back in U.S. waters for a while. So the only thing, as the captain of the ship said to us, the only thing left to do is continue with, it was a 5-day trip, and to continue with the trip because There was nothing else to do. So that first morning, we actually stopped at an island, and where an Inuit tribe was going to show some ceremonial dances and whatever. They actually met us at the dock. That's the nice thing about this ship. It was a very small ship, so it could get in very shallow waters. So we would just end up going into, places that like big cruise ships never would go, and which was really great. And we went into with this tribe, and they met us on the dock. They saw the U.S. flag on the ship, and they immediately came out, and they actually took us into their sweat lodge, and they scrapped the program, which was going to be the ceremonial thing that they do for tourists. And instead, they treated us to a healing ceremony because they wanted us to bring that back to the United States when we came back. It was an incredibly touching ceremony. When it was an hour and a half or so, we got back on the ship, and we went out, and everybody was like digesting this. I mean, we again hadn't seen pictures yet as to even what was going on. We were just being told what was going on, and making sure they were trying to get satellite connections to make sure for all those of us that had family in New York or in Washington or wherever, that we could contact them to make sure they were okay. They were really wonderful about that. And so anyway, we got back out in the water, and all of a sudden, over the intercom, very low, was that please come out on the deck. We've been approached by a pod of orca whales. So this cruise was very nature oriented, as I said before, and they didn't follow whales around. It wasn't a whale watching trip, but if you saw them on the way, then you would see them. They would slow down, and you would just kind of coast there and watch and observe. But it was never to interfere with them. So apparently the marine biologists had spotted this pod of whales. They thought it was two to start with. And so we just kind of slowed down, but these whales actually came to the boat. There were 18 of them, and they started doing something called spy hopping. And spy hopping is when they go vertically in the water, and they bob their heads up and down. And they had actually formed a circle around our boat, and were just spy hopping for quite a while. And there was the marine biologist was basically almost at a whisper over the intercom system, explaining to us the behavior of these whales, and that they don't know why whales do this, that it's called spy hopping, and animals do things, she explained all this. Animals do things for two reasons, either mating or eating, and that this behavior has nothing to do with either, so they haven't figured it out, but that scientists think they're trying to communicate with humans. I was like, wow, really? So anyway, Margaret is standing with me, and she said to me, are you getting a message from them? Which I did. So I was able to get back to my room with a pad and a notebook and everything, and I wrote everything down. When we went on this vacation, I had said to Margaret, I hope I'm going to be anonymous on this vacation, because I just wanted to have a vacation. And it's not like I'm world famous or anything, but it seems like everywhere we go, somebody's either been a client of mine or has seen me somewhere or something. So sure enough, we're sitting down at the end of the night, and this lady comes over and sits at our table, and she says, look, I just need to talk to you. I know who you are. And she said, my husband told me I wasn't allowed, but she said, I saw you on PBS. And she said, those whales gave you a message, didn't they? And so I did share the message with her. And she obviously protected my anonymity on the rest of the trip. But later I found out, because when you get back from the vacation, this company sends you a transcript of the ship log, a copy of the ship log, so you have it, so that you know all the things that happened on your trip. And my message from the whales was in there. So everybody on the ship had known about it, apparently. But I would like to share that with you today. So, because I think this is important. So it's a moment I just can't even explain what that felt like, to have 18 whales just circling you like that, just bobbing up and down and watching you. So this is the message that I got from them. Your world is not juxtaposed to ours. Although we live in the oceans and you on the land, we are still all a part of the one earth. We feel the pain of violence. We feel the loss and sorrow. We shall sing you songs of peace, hope, and joy. We are all one pod, all one family. We all need to raise our voices together to sing songs of peace and love. Then harmony will follow. Many people have forgotten how to listen, but we will sing for you all with all of our might. The words to you from the ocean are peace, love, and prayer for humankind. Take this with you, make it your own, and pass it along. That is our gift to you. Blessings. And that was their message.
Wow.
And when they finished, they were there 15, 20 minutes or so. I mean, they were there for a long time. And then they just quietly went back under the water and left as a pod.
And
so
it's just incredible that we're talking about this 20 plus years later.
Yeah, 20 plus years later, but we still need to hear the message. And so I think that's why I felt really strongly last night. All of a sudden the animals were telling me, use this tomorrow, use this for today, for our live, to talk about this, because people in the face of tragedy like this, we live in a very tumultuous world right now. Things are in upheaval. There's so much animosity and hatred and negativity. But the way around that truly is to spend time within your own heart of feeling love, peace, and compassion. It really makes a huge difference. It's not just a new age kind of, slogan. It's not. And I hear people, saying that if it weren't for people helping each other right now, that's, there's no help. We just need, people are helping each other. But that's the point. It's always about people helping each other. That's the only way we get through any of this. That's the way the animals do it. The animals help one another. They band together. They send each other hope and compassion. They are aware that we're all one. They feel for the humans that are in trouble. They feel for each other, and they band together, and that's how they get through these things. Humans have kind of forgotten that, and we expect somebody to come in and take care of everything for us, like this is going to be. But we really are here with each other, and we have each other. And so I don't care how many miles away you are from Florida or North Carolina or from the Middle East, it doesn't matter. Going into your own heart, spending conscious time, just feeling peace in your heart and imagining that, sending that out to the world, it makes a world of difference. Your prayers make a world of difference. It's the same principle. And so if I could just say anything, what the animals want us to know is that we're empowered to change this. We really are. And each one of us can do that and can do our part to do that. And it would change the world in a heartbeat if we all did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Yeah, and I think that we forget that animals are such great role models.
Yeah.
And I think we get so disconnected from each other, and we feel helpless when we look on the news and we see all these terrible stuff
Correct.
happening, but we're not helpless.
Right. We're not helpless, and that is it's a false way of being, and we're all taught that what can you do? You can't stop a hurricane from coming. We're just totally helpless. We're victims of everything, and we're helpless in all of this, and we're not. The animals get that. They understand that if humans also would come back to this understanding, it'd be a very powerful energy on this planet. And it does affect the weather. It does affect things. The more chaotic things are getting among humans and what we're doing, the more chaotic nature's becoming, the more chaotic the weather's becoming. It's all one. I mean, we're all a part of this, and we all can be a part of healing that and moving forward into a different way. The animals have brought me that message for the last 35 years. This isn't a new message. I've been hearing this for 35 years, and it's like, just keep trusting. They keep telling me, just keep trusting. This can all change very quickly, but people have to just start going into their hearts and connecting heart to heart. It's a heart connection process, and it's not overly simplified. It's powerful. I mean, I could go on with lots of stories where I've seen it, firsthand, where I've seen that work. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and I think we need that now more than ever.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you feel like that's resonating with you, share it with people.
Yeah.
Share this video with people, talk to your family and friends about it. But That was amazing.
Yeah, and you can make a difference, and they feel you, and they do. You can become a source of real help for them just by sending heart energy and love and compassion. Yeah,
So cool.
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you've kind of missed the first part of this, definitely watch the replay. We had a lot of good conversations about how animals deal with hurricanes and natural disasters and all kinds of good stuff. This was an awesome video, Dawn. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
Thank you.
yeah, and if you have other questions, again, we'll talk about them next week. So feel free to put them in the comments. Thank you guys for being here and have a great day.
See you next week.
Bye.